so that second trade that sunk right to naked point of control, it was just beautiful. And so this is the whole thing of, if you hesitate, there's still opportunity. When a trade is young, as it was at the very top of this movement, when I got in and I thought I didn't get as good of an entry as I could, that mother sunk, 200 easy more points in the day. So if that situation comes and it's within your trade plan to get in, maybe your entry isn't as perfect as you would ideally hope it.
Just a quick pause before we get into this. Trading can be intense, and staying mindful during your session matters so much. That's why I created and am sharing a free 3-part audio experience that's helped me deeply. 1, for starting your day with calm intention. 1, to stay centered while you trade. And 1, to wind down with grace when it's time to stop. These tracks are yours. Just click the link in the description. Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today.
Okay, so today is Wednesday, and I didn't trade Monday this week, but I want to talk to you guys about something that I'm working through on my trading that I think is a middle trading growth problem. Not problem per se, but lesson and growth opportunity. So what I am currently working through is, when I see a trade setting up, I want to really be able to fully trust my system and capitalize on it from every side. But what I am experiencing is that sometimes I will hesitate and not get the ideal entry, or I will be, once I get in, I will experience some fear over the risk that I initially anticipated. You have to accept risk in order to be a trader. And so I think both of those go hand in hand, like a hesitation and a fear of the outcome. And both have to be pushed through, right? Because you have to put risk on the table in order to be a trader. Without the risk, there is no reward. You have to be able to say, I'm going to enter the market at this point, and ideally it will go to this point and I will get out with a beautiful profit. But potentially I am wrong and I didn't read it right, and it's going to do something that I didn't anticipate and it will go the other direction, in which case you are going to take a red day. And I think fully accepting that trading is a game of probabilities, and we can plan and have the best setup, but sometimes you're just not always going to win. And so to fully embrace the risk, I think that's the short form answer of how to deal with this, right? Is respect the risk and accept the risk. When you enter the trade, that is the max loss, is where you put your stop loss based on the price movement. And either you will win or you will lose. And either way, you're still a trader. Your accounts are safe because you had a protected stop in place. That meant that you weren't going to have a huge blowout day. But I think there's so many nuances to it that you don't know necessarily, especially when you're early in trading, until you've experienced it. And then you have to feel it out and figure out how to navigate it. So today I was trading and the market pushed up strong at open, and then it hit a higher level supply zone. And that is my setup for a reversal trade where I'll catch the short back inward, either to a previous high day or high value area or VWAP, for examples. And so today it pushed up and it tagged that level nicely. It was a 20-minute run up, and then it hit that level, and then it showed me a bearish engulfing. That's my signal to get in. But I was slightly distracted. I was trying to be patient and not chase the run up. And so I wasn't quite focused when that candle was forming, the bearish candle. And so when it did present and the next candle started pushing down, I'm like, oh, that's my entry. But I hesitated just for a moment and she just kept falling. And so then it's like, what do you do? I had to get in the trade. I saw that was my setup. I had been waiting for it. This is a day that I'm trading. My children were still asleep because summer's amazing. And so what I did was I just got in. I tried for a limit sell. I tried for a sell bid. And finally, I got a couple contracts in where I wanted to on the higher end. But then comes I didn't get the ideal entry. As soon as the candle breaks up here, I got an entry, several ticks down below inside of the second bearish candle. And so then in that trade setup, my stop would need to be above the candle that created the candle pattern that I traded based off of, which was the tweezer top bearish engulfing. But then that was almost a candle and a half above my entry price. So in that moment, it's like, this is the trade that I planned. This is the trade of my hypothesis before the candle started printing, was let it push away to this resistance and then wait for the bears to show and then join the reversal back down. And so I did get into the trade that I was in. However, there was a little hesitation when that candle started, and then I got a lesser fill than I would ideally have had. And so in that situation, I had to accept the risk because, A, I was in the trade. So you're in, right? But then that, you have to be able to embrace that moment, the fact that you have risk on, but you had a plan and this is within your plan. And so in that scenario, you could squeeze the trade, you could be nervous, you could, not handle it as smoothly as you otherwise would if you got that sick entry at the top. And so I definitely had to, just breathe, recognize that I didn't get the perfect entry, which feels amazing when you get, but it's not always realistic, especially when the markets really starts moving based on the level that you thought it might start moving from. Sometimes the trades happen fast. And so this is not incredibly uncommon, especially for me, to get like an entry that isn't perfect if you didn't have the limit order sitting there. However, I don't always want to put the limit order in right away because, I want to let the candle close and then see what happens immediately thereafter. So there's, again, so many nuances to this. But today, when I got into my short position, my stop limit was a decent bit up, especially for 2 contracts. And so in that moment, what I did was just remind myself of my hypothesis. I actually did have, in the previous episode, I offered you guys an audio recording of myself talking me through my process that I listen to when I trade. And so I did have that in my ear, which was great because it reminds me of check your time frames. Like, you have a process, take some deep breaths and respect the risk. And so then I did take some nice steadying deep breaths and I focused on why I got into the trade and what it looked like what it presented as and the justification. And so even not having an amazing entry and having decent risk on for my size, I just held and I breathed and I let the candles print. And so I did get a nice push down and I scaled out my first contract at the high of day for the previous day, which was a very good exit for that first contract. And then the second one, now here's where it got trickier because my second contract got the lesser fill, right? So it was even lower than my first fill and my average price when I had both contracts on. So and I'm like, so if I had gotten the sick entry at the top for both contracts and it was closer to my original stop loss, it would have been smoother to leave my stop loss for the runner or to snug it down, but still have it be above or at the high end of that candle. However, it was closer than I would have liked for my entry price for that one. And so then I did end up, after my first target was hit, it was a pretty reasonable, logical, smart target, honestly, because price did react there, right? It hit it, it tagged it, took me out, and then it gave several dojis that were really looking like it could push up. And in that scenario, I thought there was the potential for it to bounce on that and then make a new higher high. And I was in a short position. So I opted for the conservative management, which in that moment, that's what you have to do as a day trader. You have to watch, observe, consider other scenarios, watch what the larger time frames are doing, as well as your exit chart time frame that what it is doing as well. And so in that scenario, I decided to lower my stop into profit and above the largest doji on that bounce. And then it, sure enough, it did come back and it just kissed me out with my stop loss. And then it continued to bounce for a while yet. And so I recognized in that moment, it could do either, right? That's why I did snug my stop. It could go higher or it could go lower. But I was a little irritated because I wanted a bigger trade. And I was like decently green when that trade closed. So I chose to walk away for a moment, refilled my coffee. I did actually a quick market mama task on my phone. And then I looked again. Guess what happened? The market sank like, I don't even know, 90 or 100 more points for the Dow Jones, which would have been excellent to still be in that short position. It went straight to my next target, which was the high value area high below. So what I did was breathe. And you know what? It's fine. I chose to manage my risk in a certain way, and that was conservative. I had locked in a nice target on my first contract and protected my account by controlling the risk on the second one when we hadn't shown a continuation or a reversal based on that potential pivot point. What ended up happening was a drop and a base and then another drop. And so then I just had to respect the fact that I wasn't in it. You cannot catch every trade. And as a trader, that has to be something that you respect and appreciate. And I really lean into the concept of having peace with my peace, and that it's not realistic to expect to get the entirety of a whole beautiful trade. And so when I missed the second half of that fall, I just was like, well, maybe this is just going to be like a small, medium win day for me, and I can be fine with these points. Like I had a whole day planned with my family. We went to an event at the library today, and then now I'm doing a little Market Mama's work this afternoon. And so I was like, I should just be content. However, what I did do was choose to take deep breaths. I did walk away. I felt more calm when I came back. I accepted what the market had done in my absence and that I just wasn't in that trade. But then I was still calm. So this is the kicker. If you can maintain a peaceful mindset, you can be focused to see what else is available. And so I was still calm. And so I was watching, I was just noticing what happened, and the market fell into a next lower value area. It fell below view up, and it was printing candles. It was closing candles underneath view up. And so this is my setup for continuation to lower targets, because in a rotational day, we will go up and we will sink down low under view up in a situation of going bullish first, and then kind of retag the view up potentially and sink to a lower target. And this is what was setting up. It had closed deeply inside that value area and underneath view up, and then it was giving me a little bounce up. And it had not tagged naked point of control, which is a high likely target early in the session for New York session in the futures indices that I trade. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. I may have missed this nice big chunk in the middle. However, there is another leg that per my trading system, I anticipate is coming. And because I did maintain neutrality and peace and calm with my mindset and my energy and my emotions, I felt ready and available to put a little bit more risk on. And so I respected the fact that I did manage my trade conservatively earlier. I still had room to have a larger win, or if I took another stop out, it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world because I had essentially kind of house money. And so when price did bounce back up after sinking into those the start of the lower bands on the standard deviation bands, then I entered a short up there and I took it down to naked point of control. And it was really a very quick, efficient, beautiful trade. I didn't have to weather essentially any drawdown. When it pushed up, I got in short. The next candle opened, started sinking right away. So I put my stop right on top of that. And it was a great setup. This is how I have learned to trade. I really appreciate value area trading because I think that it kind of shows us the areas that we want to trade in and what it looks like to fill in areas and give you logical targets based on the volume in the locations that is being traded on different charts. It worked rather well for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the futures instrument that I trade. And so in this situation, I had a pretty high confidence in this based on the movement we had seen since open, the strength of the bears, the position that it had sunk to, and the fact that it was giving me a retracement. And so that second trade that sunk right to naked point of control, it was just beautiful. And so this is the whole thing of like, if you hesitate, there's still opportunity. You know, when a trade is young, as it was at the very top of this movement, when I got in and I thought I didn't get as good of an entry as I could, that mother sunk, 200 easy more points in the day. So if that situation comes and it's within your trade plan to get in, maybe your entry isn't as perfect as you would ideally hope it. That's when you have to mature into being a trader where you breathe and you are patient and you just accept the risk that you've got yourself into by clicking buy or sell. And then you manage it appropriately based on what is happening, based on each candle closing, based on your data, based on how she's moving and what signals she's sending you based on your system. And then you just manage it the best you can. I, in hindsight, wish I had kept that runner on. However, if it had bounced up from that level, which it absolutely could have happened, I would be so grateful that I took that off. And so I went with the conservative management of my runner because that's kind of what runners are, is an opportunity for more profits. However, you can protect it because you've already locked in some green. And so by being conservative, by taking a break, by recognizing that there was another opportunity and I was still very level in terms of my psychology, I saw a really clear secondary setup. And so my P&L ended up very strong for today. And I think that goes to show that if we can just be patient and embrace our process and try and maintain as much neutrality and peace in our hearts and our minds while we're trading, it's so powerful. I really believe that Miss Market, the stock market, is abundant and there is more than one or two good opportunities every day, but we can't capitalize on all of them. And the best opportunity to capitalize on them is when we are fresh and patient and focused and not rushing or chasing or worried about everything, just accepting the game of risk that trading is. And so I really, I'm grateful for the knowledge that I've learned. Shout out to my amazing mentor, Jermaine, who has taught me everything. And I just, being so grateful for all these opportunities, I think helps call more of that energy back towards me. And it helps build my confidence moving forward because I was able to take 2 good chunks of the market, nice points for my day, lock them in. And then that still, I think my second trade was over at 7:20 in the morning on West Coast time. And so, it's an incredible amount of money that you can make by trading the futures instrument and trade copying in such an early time. And I have a full, beautiful rest of my day. And so being a day trader, it really is that beautiful. It really is. It's not easy. Like, I have hard losses, but the losses are lesson days for me. And I really have come to fully embrace that they're just bricks building my foundation and making me a stronger trader. And I want to keep taking as many lesson days as it takes in order to be the strongest trader I can, to have days like today where I can just see it and I can manage it appropriately. And I don't take the entire move, but I take nice bites and I have the confidence to copy it and to manage it intentionally, not overstay my welcome and not take on too much risk. I didn't over leverage on those trades. I took, a normal, healthy account size for me. I want to encourage everyone who's still dialing in their process that this is just one day. And it was my day today, a random Wednesday in July, that if you really focus and bust your ass and learn all of the things from advanced mentors and put it all together and make notes and journal and fine tune your edge in your process, that there is so much opportunity that we can capitalize on. It's such a beautiful world. And in order to not give in to fear and hesitation and embrace your process, you just have to trade. Every time you put real risk on in a trade and you accept the fills that you get, and then you manage them to the best of your ability, you're training your body over time to have risk on and then have to be patient to manage it appropriately. Have to wait and let the market show you what she's going to show you what the data is printing, and then give you the best guidance on how to manage it in the most ideal way. And so every time that we do accept a position entry, you accept risk. And so not giving into fear, not giving into hesitation to get a worse fill even, but to just throw your ring in the mix when you see an entry and then doing the best you can with it. That really is like the cut and dry of how you become a trader. You learn a system best you can, you give it a shot, and then you feel it out. And then you fine tune over time, over months to years. I am into year 4 now, and I get to have these great days because of daily effort and grind and attention and focus. But it can happen. It can happen for you. It happened for me. It's still happening for me. I'm nowhere near as consistent as I would love to be. I would love for these sick days to happen all the time, but I have variability still within my system. And I think that that's really okay with me. Like, I want to be a happy, fulfilled person and have good energy no matter my P&L, and to say that a red day is a lesson day and it's all growing me, because I wouldn't have been as confident in these trades today as I was had I not tried at them in the past hundreds of times and then felt what happens when you trade them. So to anyone who's working through fine-tuning their process and their edge and shoring themselves up so that they have their trade more system-based versus fear-based, I just stick with it. Like, you get there, it gets easier, but I honestly truly believe that the only answer is patience and time and experience. Every trade that you're in teaches you on a visceral level that you can then feel quicker next time you're in trying to get an opportunity. So stick with it, hang with it. This was just a random Wednesday for me, and I will give you guys more information on my trading days randomly here and there if that is interesting to you, because I think that there's so much value in learning within a community, and not everyone has a really supportive community. So if you don't, send me a comment, send me a message. My email is contact@market-mamas.com. And I'm more than willing, I respond to everything, to support everyone else along the way and answer any questions that anyone has, because I think that trading can be really hard, and there's a dark depressing, scary period in the beginning where you're not sure if you can do it and if you should quit and if enough losses are enough losses and when it's going to turn and when the consistency comes and why isn't it here yet? And I want it now. And my family and I, our finances are hoping that this will work. It's a hard time. Like, I've been there, but I persevered through it. And now I'm on the other side to some degree and I'm growing around the bend. So I'm going to be authentic with you guys always. And, we can grow together. All right, everybody, take care. Our best trading days are ahead because we're always growing and learning and optimizing and improving. So let's get it. Let's trade again tomorrow. And slowly and steadily, we are doing this damn thing. Take care.